Back Row Ministry, the World Premier, Mr. Monty coming back at you live and direct. Well, America goes in and seizes Maduro from the baddest country in South America, Venezuela, or so they say, and he has been accused of being a narco criminal. He's a dope boy, as they say. So they had to go in and get him, and they had to use special forces to get him and rid Venezuela of the tyrant. Unfortunately, however, while everybody is cheering this from a military standpoint, being military, you're cheering this. From a political standpoint, who's going to be the leader? So the young lady that they did choose, she decided to stand up and say something about what America is actually trying to do. This had nothing to do with dope. This had to do with one thing: oil. And we're coming to a place where oil is the last true material or mineral that possesses value in the for Americans. They're not out trying to find any other minerals that they can sell in the future. It's still about oil, and having those oil reserves and being able to sell as much oil as they deem necessary to keep the American economy that's dying going. And our economy is dying. The world is reordering itself. The New World Order began a long time ago. It's reordering itself. Financially, it's reordering itself. And the dollar is not what it used to be. And, in 1971, when they moved from gold to the dollar, it's about the dumbest thing we could have done. But it was a way of thinking that, hey, we can have economic dominance. But, that period has come to an end. So, definitely, it is time to start investing in different minerals. If gold is something that you own, you might want to start buying some, because we're headed back to a gold standard, or any other mineral that they deem of value. We're going to go back to that standard. The dollar is a dying thing. So this whole thing with Maduro, of course, was to stop the Chinese who've been moving into the Caribbean. If you go to some of these Caribbean islands, talk to some of the people there, they talk about Chinese investment there. And then China moved into Venezuela. They wanted to make a deal for that oil. And that's what they did with Maduro, which, of course, is a slap in the face to Donald Trump in the United States. And, he decided to go in and strong arm the oil, of course, and then bully American companies back into Venezuela. American oil companies, of course. So it's a lot of good pieces on YouTube with a lot of the financial and economic scholars talking a great deal about the destabilization that's about to take place with our country, as far as us not being where we are. Like I say, we don't make anything, and we're not trying to truly invest in another country. You can't bully your way back into power. So you just can't. What, you gonna beat up the lonely South American countries for what? I mean, you're gonna bully them as a show of what? It doesn't show strength. You're the yard bully who can bully people and drop some bombs, and they're too afraid to do anything. So you just want them to bow to your whim, and it doesn't work all the time. The world is moving forward economically in a different direction, and if we're not careful, we're going to be left behind. So this Magite approach to the New World Order is not going to work. Yes, we have a military, but there's only so much bullying you can do before the world gets together and starts defending itself. So World War, which we are in now, bruised because of this. The Germans had a bully mentality. They had a bully mentality. They thought they'd go and bully other European countries, and thus got themselves in trouble. And we're acting like that. We're starting to act like that, where we could just bully this person and bully this person. And sooner or later, the world turns on us. And that's where we're pretty much at. We're 5 seconds from being turned on by the world and the end of what used to be America. And then America itself will be restructured. So this is where we headed. But this is an oil boom. This had nothing to do with drugs. This is all about oil. America doesn't want Chinese influence getting closer and closer because that's what's taking place. They're already in the islands. So it was only a matter of time before they start coming into South America and investing in countries in South America. And America doesn't want any leader working with the Chinese or Russians. So they're going to make an example of leaders who defy them. And that's the word of you. Well, you're defying us, you know. They got a lot of these black conservatives on YouTube. No disrespect to them. You can vote for whoever you want to. But I always say, you know, especially, you know, some of those people, they know who I'm talking about. You know, they take these stances, but they don't give proper information. This had nothing to do with no drugs. This is not a narco takedown. This is an oil takedown. And it's not going to do anything. So if you're going to teach information, especially as a black American, teach proper information to black Americans. Teach proper information to people who listen to you. This has nothing to do with drugs. This is about oil. Our economy is in trouble. Our economy is failing. Teach the truth. Teach the truth. Don't let Democrat, Republican blind you from what's going on in the world. So right now, Venezuela has puppet leaders. The government could stabilize or could fall apart. We don't know how this is going to go. We don't know how this is going to go. We know they got a lot of fucking oil reserve over there, but we don't know how this is going to go. Who's going to control that? Who's going to control that? So America is flipping a coin that they can keep control of that situation, which, you know, we just have to see how it plays out. But you can't bully your way into economic power. You have to negotiate. So Trump always talks about the art of the deal, but he's not using the art of the deal. You know, bullying is not business. You know, you could do tariff wars all day. Tariff wars is more, you know, a strong arm negotiation where you say, well, I'm not going to do A, B, and C, or we're going to jack this up. But when you start bringing the military in and, you know, going in, taking people, dropping bombs, that's bullying. And that's you trying to bully your point across. It's not going to work because after a while, these countries are going to turn on you, and they don't have to use the military to turn on you. They just can use getting together and creating a new economic structure where you're on the outside looking in. And now the dollar is already overinflated. It's just out there. Nobody really needs it anymore. And that's where we're headed, where they're not going to really be looking for dollars anymore in some of these countries because other currency is going to be more valuable. They can care less about a dollar. You can go to some of these places. Once that dollar's even out to that other currency's money, you finished. And that's pretty much where we're headed. So, you know, bullying your way and, you know, trying to jack oil reserves because you don't want people to make other business deals. And then Trump on TV talking about he's going into Cuba and he's going into Mexico and then he's going here. He's going to be the liberator of South America through strong arm tactics. It's not going to work because the last thing you need is South America as a whole getting together and say, okay, we can go on a war against North America. Who's to say they won't come together as a whole? You can't beat Mexico, Venezuela, all them countries together. Especially when their people are already embedded in your country. These folks know how to fight guerrilla warfare. So why are you going to fight people who understand the tactics of guerrilla warfare better than anybody? And they're embedded in your soil. That'd be just fucking self-suicide. But, you know, the mentality of some of these folks when they get power is this is the approach. And it's always been the American approach. Bully people, hostile takeover, leave countries in shambles. Look at Libya. Done. Finished. They got nothing out of the deal. Nothing out of the deal. If there were resources over there, there should be some economic dealings made where that structure had stayed together, but they have no plan. America goes over here, they take out leaders, they have no plan. Panama was an exception because Panama, you know, had things that brought in, you know, kept their economy flowing, so they were able to put themselves back together. But a lot of these countries can't. Look at Syria. Went up, blew up Syria, nothing left. They don't help rebuild to gain an advantage economically. That's why we're so far behind. If you really think about it, America is the baby of the world for a reason. The baby of the world. Remember, we're the youngest civilization and the youngest country, one of the youngest countries in the world. But we're the baby of the world because we get a toy, we play with it for 2 seconds, and then we throw it away. We don't know how to keep a toy. We don't know how to bring value to a toy. And we just play with it for a second and throw it away. And that's what we do. We go in these countries, fuck them up all the hell, and then we leave. But there's no idea of how to rebuild the countries. There's no idea of, okay, economically, what does this country have that will make us money, where we can help these folks and help ourselves also. It's more about pushing a dollar on everybody instead of, what minerals does this place have that are going to be a value that we need to start investing in. There's no idea of that. The dollar has been our downfall since 1971, and the dollar's going to be our ending if we don't switch it up. So we need leadership that comes in and say, we got to get away from the dollar, go back to a new standard, be it the gold or whatever mineral that's going to be hot moving forward. Oil is about to be a dead thing. Yes, oil is still going to be needed, but it's about to be a dead thing. How can we energize our country without oil, like a lot of countries are getting into, where we're self-sufficient there. We can power the country, if that's the biggest thing. Because some of these leaders that we have, do they really care? My fear is a lot of these folks, when the shit hit the fan, they'll leave America and just leave, we'll become like Libya. And we'll have to fend for ourselves and figure it out. So, as citizens here and as America, we need to start thinking about our own future. Solar paneling, wind power, whatever you can use to power your vehicles. If you got to get an electric car, you got to get an electric car. If you got to keep it powered, you got to figure out a way to keep it powered. We got to start figuring out buying some gold. If Black Americans are asking for reparations, we don't need no dollars. I don't want any dollars. I want gold. Give me $2 million in gold, $1 million in gold, and I'll take my gold and store it someplace else. I'm not going to store it in America. Don't give me no dollars. And that should be our push for reparations. We don't want no dollars. We want gold. Don't want to have anything to do with the dollar moving forward. Get us some gold, something that we can trade. Hey, now we're playing on an even economic field with the rest of the world moving forward. But this Maduro thing is just another form of bullying. If you don't do what I say, then this is what I'm going to do. But it's never done with a plan or a strategy. And just like any other country, if you don't have a plan or a strategy in place and it falls apart, then what do you do? Yeah, there is economic potential in Venezuela. And at the same time, you got to be willing to do something with that potential. It can't just be pushing a dollar on everybody as a way of surviving, because the world is not responding to the baby anymore. America's a baby, is always having a tantrum, and these other civilizations are grown folk. They're not going to keep responding to these tantrums. They don't have to. They're already rebuilding the world economy, and we're about to be left out if we don't get our act together. Mr. Motley Back Row Ministry, peace and hair grease.